Hello everybody, welcome back to the new layout. Hello once again everyone. Today's video is going to be a large update on my HO scale layout. We're going to go in depth on how I built the table, how I placed the buildings, and what everything is on the layout. So buckle up, it's going to be a bit of a ride. The last time you saw my layout, it was in my review video of the Walthers EMD GP9M, which if you haven't seen that video, go take a look at it. Not spoiling anything, but you might want to pick yourself up one of those models. Anyway, in that video, my layout was, well, let's just say pathetic. It was on the ground, and it had a total of 2 buildings. Not much of a layout, if you ask me. But since then, I've done a bit of work, so let's get into that. To start with, I needed to get the layout off the ground. Literally. To do that, I went to Home Depot, bought 2 4x8 sheets of plywood, 5 2x4s, and 4 Harbor Freight sawhorses. Initially what I had planned was for one 4x8 table on one of the walls, and a 2x8 on another. So I fashioned the frames out of the 2x4s, screwed the plywood into them, and they were good to go. After doing that, I put the tables on sawhorses. I specifically went with these sawhorses because they have the flip-up tabs so the table can't shift side to side on the sawhorse. After making the table, it was time to make the layout. The first thing I did was laid down a grass mat over both tables. Then I laid some track and put my, by this time, whole 3 buildings on the layout. And this was the layout for about a month. At some point during that time, my neighbor realized I was into modeling HO scale trains. She had saved a bunch of buildings and rolling stock from her dad that her sons didn't want. Needless to say, thanks to her extreme generosity, almost all of the buildings are now on the layout. However, initially, I couldn't fit them all on, so that leads me to the extension. I had plans to add the rest of the buildings to the layout. Planned to extend off the back of the Bedford yards and continue along the wall underneath the window. However, by doing it that way, it would be much harder to create a complete circuit of track. So I made the decision to build the extension off the side of the Bedford yard, moving my planned town of Elko to this new extension. This extension was made the same way the other tables were. 2 more sawhorses, a frame of 2x4s, and the half of the second 4x8 sheet of plywood that I originally cut down. Then after adding some wood to make a bridge, the circuit was complete. And that's basically the construction of the layout. Pretty simple stuff, but now let's get into what everything actually is on the layout. Our journey around the layout starts in Bedford, the biggest town on the layout. This yard is kind of a home base of operations on the layout. Starting out of Bedford Yard, the first station we get to is the town of Troy. Troy is the higher end town on the railroad. It has an actual paved road, greener grass, and it's in very good condition. Continuing down the line, this will eventually be the Omaha Docks. Still need to do some planning of how I want to actually implement the docks on the layout, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Around the corner, after this switch that we'll come back to later, is Hillside. Hillside is the logging station on the railroad, hence why the Hillside Lumber and Milling Company are also here. Continuing down, we get to 2 switches. These switches are the entrances to the Omaha Freight Yard, the other major yard on the railroad. This yard is piloted by a small 040 switcher, who I've done a little bit of cosmetic work on. After that, it's a long straight until we get to the next station. East Falls is a station back in the countryside. It's more of a tourist and hiking kind of station in the middle of nowhere, so it doesn't get a lot of frequent stops, but it's still a cute little station. Along through the tunnel, and after we hit the power plant, past the farm country, and right back into the industry of Bedford. These two buildings are currently the unofficial Bedford station. Just past there, we hit two more switches, and instead of going back towards the yard, we will continue along the extension route. On the extension, there are two routes. To the left is the main line around the town and back over the bridge, and to the right being the town of Elko. On my layout, Elko was the first town to be formed in the area, hence why it's the most run down, old, and dumpy looking town. However, there's still industry out of the town, such as ballast and oil. Continuing out of the town will get you back onto the main line, and we'll link up over the bridge by a hillside. And that's pretty much it. The construction of my layout and what everything is on it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I plan to make more videos in the future. My next one probably being a locomotive showcase and my made-up history for the railroad and each of the locomotives. But let me know what you guys think. Anyway, thanks for watching, and side note, we've gained 1 subscriber since the last video, bringing the grand total to 25 beautiful people. Thanks for watching again, guys, and have a great one.